Hey, good evening, folks. Welcome to ZSR2. My name is Tresco, and welcome to the ALttPR Randomizer Crossworld Keysanity Tournament. To round number 1, we're into brackets, and it's Mr. Dataplet versus breve. And without further ado, because this just beautifully fits with the countdown, mute the music, let's dive onto the layout, and let's say hi to the two comms, the cool Papa Bell, and through the Wally. Hey, and what? Okay, we're switching off breve's audio, because I am not entirely sure this is like a soundtrack you can use.
Rip.
Is that an MSU? I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
Couldn't tell you at all. But hey, how's it going? Yeah, I am Wallkicks, joined by Cool Papa Bell.
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing this afternoon?
So, question, am I allowed to just shorten your name to CPB?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. So this is Crossworld Keysanity, as Trez so lovingly told us. This is round 1. Dataplet as the 12 seed, taking on breve as the 53 seed. But really, seeds, I mean, we've seen a lot of upsets already. So seeding isn't really the biggest thing. It's just going to be about routing and decision making. And yeah, we're going to get started here momentarily. So what kind of things are you looking to see CPB out of this seed?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest things in Cross Keys are always when do you get that Moon Pearl and can start exploring the Dark World, and when do you get that Mirror, because that's so important for getting to lots of entrances in the Light World. So those items are always what you're looking for early on. And then it's just a matter of kind of routing efficiently through the world, because like you said, kind of anything can happen in a Cross Keys seed.
Yeah, and there's always the dream seed that I want one day where you don't actually need the Moon Pearl. Like, maybe you need it logically, but if you can bunny, revive, get through, and maybe get lucky. Looks like both runners... Oh, nope, we're going to see a little bit of a divergence. Dataplet doing what I would consider a standard opening route in Cross Keys, and that's to fake flipper over to the Witches area to check that entrance, and then head over to the Fairy Cave over nearby, and then Houlihan. Breve, meanwhile, going to do a tree pull and check the Hyrule Castle, both the drop-down and the entrance.
Yeah, got a bomb drop off of the castle guard there.
And that's pretty nice, in case that would have been like the Kakariko well. Unfortunately, it is just the lumberjack, but nothing important there now. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Cross Keys, what it is a Crossworld entrance shuffle combined with a Keysanity item pool. So in Crossworld entrance, all the entrances are shuffled amongst each other. Dungeons can be anywhere. Connectors can be anywhere. The drop-downs are also shuffled amongst each other, so we're going to see different drop-downs. Ganon can be anywhere. More importantly, though, is that we can find a connector like Dataplet found one of the desert entrances, and if he were to leave a different exit out of Desert Palace, he could actually end up in the Dark World, and that can actually be required for progression. But, we're a minute and 30 into this, so we'll see how it goes.
Ooh, 300 rupees are actually really nice to find early on Dataplet's side. That's part of why you do the fake flipper up to the Witch's Hut area, so you can do a Houlihan glitch right away and have cash for a bottle vendor or buying bombs, whatever you need early on. But that 300 is also a good find.
And meanwhile, breve took that bomb and is doing the South Hyrule checks. Did the Light World Hype Cave, which was, I believe, checkerboard, didn't have anything of value. But now checking Mini Moldorm Cave, which turns out to be our first dungeon, Misery Mire. Can't do anything there right now. Need a hook shot or the boots to even get across that little gap. But always good to know where the dungeons are.
And we also saw the useless fairy, so-called useless fairy, there at the vanilla drop-down for that. So that means already we can tell the Ganon drop-down is going to have at least one item or Ganon himself behind it. So that's always an interesting thing with how those drop-downs get shuffled, of whether the GT climb is hiding anything behind it or not.
So if you know that there's going to be an item back there, would you prefer it to be like one of the one item caves, or would you almost like say, okay, just put Kakariko well there so I've got a lot of incentive to climb GT when I have the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it sort of doesn't matter because I always just guess wrong on whether I'm supposed to climb GT or not. So I'd rather have just one item there because then it just lessens the chances that you actually have to do it.
Fair enough. So now the runner at this point has been to the sanctuary, although dataplet's going to do that right now. And this is kind of the other big thing that you want to check early on is where is your sanctuary? Because if you have a bad sanctuary, it can lead to not the best early game. But we do get a castle tower key. Oh dear. Oh, well, speaking of what's behind the Haga 2 drop down, that is the sanctuary or the back of escape. So this is an interesting starting location. Early on, it's pretty bad. Oh, hello, hookshot. That's really nice. Early on,
Yeah,
having I was gonna say early on having a sanctuary here is bad because it means your only light world entrance starting point is Link's house, which can make for bad routing. But once you get the Moon Pearl, this can actually be a pretty nice place because you're guaranteed to have a Dark World save and quit point already.
Yeah, and it also has that interesting effect on the items in Hyrule Castle, right? That you put a lot more value on going through Dark Cross all the way to Back of Escape, since that's the most efficient way to find those items. But dataplet doing a little bit of bunny walking and finding Ganon's tower over in the East Dark World.
So that's a really nice find for dataplet. So he's going to bunny revive and get the 2 chests that are in Hope Room and also probably look to see what's on the torch just in case. Nice, this is out of logic, but you're going to see a lot of runners do this if, maybe there's a late Moon Pearl, and especially in data situation with the Sanctuary being in the Dark World, you might see some bunny revivals. Gets rewarded with the Quake Medallion. Probably not worth it at the moment, but could be something down the road.
Meanwhile, Breve is going to try and farm some more bombs from the 50-50 bushes over south of Grove, and then we'll head into Kakariko from there.
Oh, he went 2 for 2 right there. Heck yes.
Ooh, and a nice 4-drop.
So it looks like Data's going to take the opportunity and do a couple of more Darkwood entrance checks. Won't be able to open Pod because the Kiki won't follow you as a bunny, but you can still get this check right here. Finds another connector. Lovely. With the small key, but can't get that. And then also check the flute spot 5 just in the Dark World. You might come back and check that and actually follow that connector, but that's a little dangerous because there's going to be going through some mini dorms.
Yeah, that's definitely a connector I like to find, though, because bomb jumping across that gap is not in logic, but obviously it's not too difficult to do, so a lot of runners will do that, but I like knowing whether or not that leads to someplace interesting.
So Hashala, meanwhile, telling us that our green pendant today is Swamp Palace. Good and bad. With the hookshot, you're probably not too concerned about finding Swamp Palace or doing Swamp Palace, but that Swamp Small Key could be in a little bit of a nasty place. Meanwhile, Breve finds the other way to Spectacle Rock Cave, so interesting that this is just in Kakariko. Also, shoutouts to the ZeldaSpeedRuns for giving us a raid. So early on in this race, which is nice, Data finds the race game. There's nothing here, but this is always a good connector to find, or not even a connector, but having it here and knowing where it is always nice. Oh, it's the map for the one dungeon Data has information on. That's the worst.
Yeah, it is a nice spot to let him out, though, because he was pretty much done over in the East Dark World. So getting spit out right here outside of Kakariko is very convenient.
Yeah, this ended up being a nice little routing choice for dataplet. Meanwhile, Breve has found the Meyer shed as we're going to start kind of going through all of the Kakariko entrances. Oftentimes, most runners will kind of do these entrances early on just to kind of get them out of the way. There's 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 11, 12 entrances in Kakariko. There's 3 south, 1 north as well, so a lot of entrances here. I didn't just count that as I was looking at it.
Definitely not.
I totally knew that.
Also, what's nice about Kakariko is there are 2 guaranteed items here with the back of the tavern that we just saw, the bottle vendor, and actually 3 if you count the mushroom spot, and several drop downs that are usually good sources of items as well.
Kakariko providing us with all the money today. You don't have to worry about money in this scenario.
Yeah, our runners also found the Graveyard Ledge location, which is a nice bomb farm early on as well. So all of those early cash and bomb concerns are right out the window. The seed's been very generous so far on that score.
Oh, that's a good Hyrule Castle small key right there. That alleviates the need to actually defeat Aga 2. That's with the Sanctuary being behind the Ganon hole drop down. One of the things our runners would have had to have considered is, okay, do I do Aga 2 just to get those 3 items in the back of escape? But with that Hyrule Castle small key, it now puts back of escape in logic once we get a fire source. So really, really good, and that's one thing that our runners don't have to think about.
Yeah, because you could also think about, do I want to steal a key from the front of escape and then take it back to the back, and how time consuming is that going to be? But no worries if you just find the sewer key.
And we have the uncle here at the Kakariko well drop down. And knowing that we've already seen Ganon is also a little bit good for our runners, with Ganon today being at the Magic Bat drop down, because now you don't have to worry about, oh man, do I need to check the drop down first? I can just fall down and not have to worry about accidentally dropping down to Ganon.
Yeah, and actually I think everything left will have some sort of item for our runners. Because we've still got the Thieves' Hideout, the Well, and, I guess, Magic Bat. As we see, Pod and Misery Mire are red crystals there.
Ooh, back of Turtle Rocks. These are 4 chests that I believe they're not technically in logic without either the Mirror Shield or the Cape or the Cane of Burna, but that's not going to stop these runners from getting them, because these are just very accessible chests. But we could be seeing a couple of deaths as, this isn't maybe the most practiced thing a lot of runners have at their disposal.
Yeah, so this has become in logic with advanced item placements in V31, but the entrance code base is separate from the standard randomizer code base. So yeah, I'm actually not sure of the status of this in Cross Keys.
We did see Breve do a little bit of a trick that you can use to get the top and bottom chests, is that if you intentionally fall, you do have enough iframes, provided you're quick enough, to actually get to the chest before the laser snipes you, and you're going to see that right here as well. It does get a vanilla TR small key. That's nice. So now just one more chest to try to get. Oof. And this can always be a little frustrating, especially finding it this early.
Yeah, not enough hearts to tank even one hit from the laser. And then you just get a big 20 at the end of it all.
Right. So not a whole lot in the back of Turtle Rock on Laser Bridge, just the Turtle Rock small key, but that's nice, you know, getting that one small key. You need at least one small key to finish off the dungeon. And now we see Data's turn at doing Laser Bridge. So I gotta say, overall, our Kakariko a little barren, which, considering that our save and quit points for the most part are not great, it's actually kind of good for these runners to actually not have a whole lot in the Kakariko area, because this gives them not really a whole lot of incentive to come back here.
Yeah, we've seen, I think, just one connector, the Death Mountain Fairy Cave, that, of course, our runners are probably not going to follow very early on when they've got so many other entrances to check.
And Data doing what Incoherent in chat was talking about is using that beetle to kind of damage boost past the laser to get that chest, and is able to get it pretty nicely. So worked well in dataplet's favor. Meanwhile, Breve is now checking the forest area, which is just kind of like your logical next line of checks, so to speak. We'll be also seeing this drop down as well. Gets a bottle, and I believe we know where Sick Kid is, back in Kakariko. Yay.
And finds the magic bat drop down there, which means the well drop down is somewhere annoying. Either it's in the graveyard, locked behind a glove, or it is at the lumberjack tree, locked behind Aga 1.
And Breve is taking this connector right now. I'm a little surprised. Would have figured he wanted to check to see what was behind Aga 1 and also check the house entrance right there. But, you know, sometimes you got to take these risks. This is a one-way connector. We'll not be able to come back from it, so we'll see what we find behind this. Hey, I heard you needed money.
I'm not sure the seed heard correctly, but I guess we'll take it.
I mean, 1,000 rupees 16 minutes in can't go wrong. And that'll be the end of Breve's journey for now, getting popped out at Lake Hylia. So, a little unfortunate there. So that's good for dataplet right there, learning that the Lost Woods Thief is behind Aga 1, and you can actually check that item, seeing that it's a heart piece. Data nodes, okay, I don't need to worry about Aga 1 at all. Oh, but he finds Hookshot Cave, something that Breve didn't do because Breve instead decided to check the Super Bunny Cave connector. We'll see if this is anything.
Ooh, seeing a lot of signs pointing towards swamp early on.
That's true. Big keys like that, the ones that you don't need to complete the dungeon, are still nice to have because should we go into Swamp Palace, we know we're gonna not leave anything behind. So the Ice Palace big key, the Hera big key, the Swamp big key, the Skullwoods big key, while not necessary, I say that knowing that logically you do need the Hera and Ice big keys, but they're still good to have to avoid potential double dips. Well, Breve has found a Hyrule Castle entrance. I admittedly did not see where.
I think this was the Vanilla Dam entrance, somewhere on the South Shore area.
That would make sense because I did see him in the dam area, because once we found the dam and flooded the dam, we were able to check the item and it was just the boomerang. So yeah, I'm not surprised that there is that Hyrule Castle is right there. And with that small key, you could go all the way to the back, although that's not quite in logic yet. Data, meanwhile, is going to head east instead of doing South Hyrule. Going to be checking these two entrances near Lake Hylian and probably heading over to the eastern area, which is something I know Data really likes to do. Oh. Ice Palace, huh? Early Ice Palace is always suspicious to me. If I find Ice Palace early and I have like the Fire Rod or like a Sword and Bombos, I'm always going to check that first just in case.
Yeah, and it can be frustrating of how much of Ice Palace can be in logic with almost no equipment, though. Once you can get in the front door, you can get all the way down to Ice Tea, right? So...
God, yeah.
Breve finding the Moon Pearl here in Zelda's cell. Dataplet will not be far behind on that one.
And that's actually in logic with that small key that we have, so it makes sense that the Moon Pearl is there. It's always fun when, you know, you get a Moon Pearl that's in there, and then you're like, I don't have the small key, so what's my logical way to do it?
Right, so Breve is opting to stop that trip around the eastern part of the light world there, and is just going to save and quit and head back out the pyramid now with that Moon Pearl. Since he did not bunny walk before, this will be all new information for him here in the East Dark world.
And this makes a lot of sense. You know, you have this Dark World access already. You just picked up the Moon Pearl. Let's figure out what these checks are. He'll be able to actually check out what's in the back of Sahasrah's hut, which is something Data was not able to do. Won't be able to do anything different in GT, but we'll also be able to check the entrance to Pod. So all of these things are things that Data was not able to do, but it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to cost him any time.
So interesting, neither of our runners opting for that trip to the back of Escape through the sewers, both deciding that that sewer key was just to get the Moon Pearl, and not too worried about anything else. As you said, it's not in logic yet without the lamp, so that's probably playing into our runner's decision as well.
Yeah, plus, I mean, we're 20 minutes in, we're sitting at 4 hearts. You know, there's not a whole lot of reason to try to go to the back right now. Might as well save it for a little bit later, especially since, you know, it's pretty easy to get back to Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, and tricky to navigate to the back without the sword. The hookshot's definitely helpful in finding your way through the dark, but sword would make that much easier and faster.
Especially if you're trying to get through the rope basement and there's like 10 ropes in your way, and you're just like, oh my goodness, please. That is thinking about it. I don't think he's going to. Yeah, I was just say, like, with that hookshot and with that Mizraimire, you know, we could get across and do some shenanigans in Mizraimire, but not really worth it without a viable weapon that's not bombs.
Wow, Sahasrahla hiding some good stuff back there.
That is really nice, for sure. That sword and that fire rod. I'd be a lot more tempted now to go to the back of Escape and see what we find back there. I still don't think it's illogic, although I question the Fire Rod's ability to put the back... Well, no, because this is a different version. I don't know if that is logical in cross keys, but I would still be super tempted.
And it's one of those things, too, that, you know, even if it's not in logic, the lamp could be just about anywhere in the world, so you never really know when you're going to find it. And you don't want to have to run back to Hyrule Castle after you find the lamp, right? So if you're there and it's easy to do, why not do it, is how most runners approach that.
I would say that's a great way to approach cross keys, is I'm here, I can do it, let's get it out of the way. Who needs to worry about... logic for the most part. Meanwhile, Breve finds the other end to the hookshot cave, so this is going to actually work out in Breve's favor pretty nicely, considering Breve did not get here the way that Data did. Also, we talked earlier about you know, having Ice Palace access and having that Fire Rod. Well, that Fire Rod is there. We know where Ice Palace is. Who wants to go check in some chests in Ice Palace?
I mean, no one really wants to, but I have a feeling we might see it anyway.
Meanwhile, Data took that shovel, checked the dig spot, didn't come up with anything, but Sick Kid, though, giving us some flippers. That's pretty nice. Well, Data didn't get one of the chests here, so coming back and gonna try that. Shaking his fist at the laser. But he uses the beetle to good effect there. Sometimes you just need to shake your fist. Oh, Data has a fairy. Where did Data get a fairy?
Geez, I saw where it was, but I believe Breve has it as well.
Fairy was an escape. Okay, that makes sense.
Breve's also going to check out the powder when he found that hookshot cave connector back to the Lost Woods area.
Data, meanwhile, found a way to TR Bridge, which is interesting. So that had to have been the Light World Fairy Cave, because he was in the Kakariko area, and that was the only connector.
Yes, yeah, that's where he went through. So the old man rescue is going to let us out on Mimic Bridge.
Which is good to have, you know, especially once you get the mirror, then that becomes a really nice save and quit point. Data attempted to find out what that dark cave was. I don't have his audio on, so I'm not sure if he figured it out. So there are a couple of ways you can, you know, kind of determine which of the dark caves you're in. But I would suspect, since we know where the back of the old man save and quit point is, and since Data didn't accidentally fall, I'm gonna assume that's the Death Mountain Descent, one of the two Death Mountain Descent dark rooms.
Yeah, and Breve is going to go ahead and show us the sewers and back to escape. Just a big 20 in Dark Cross.
Gotta find Chicken House though, so that's nice. We get an ice rod. So that is the Turtle Rock Big Key, Fire Rod, and Ice Rod already. I wonder if maybe we're going to be clearing out Turtle Rock at some point.
It seems plausible. Meanwhile, dataplet is chasing those flippers that he got off of Sick Kid. And it seems like we're running out of other places to go pretty quickly. So feels like those flippers almost have to lead to something.
Definitely. Meanwhile, Breve is taking a long death warp. Hopefully he remembers he's got the fairy. Maybe he got rid of it.
Ooh, I guess we'll see.
Yes, he did. Okay, we're fine.
Yeah, looks like he wants to check out these other two entrances to Hyrule Castle.
Well, we know where one of them is. One of them is just going to be also in the Light World, but I don't think we've seen the right exit yet. Or maybe there's one we haven't seen. I know that much. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Death Mountain access, very good find.
Upgrade fairy, you know, with the amount of money we were given early, why not top off your bombs and arrows?
Yeah, that's another good cross keys point. If you find that upgrade fairy and you've got spare cash lying around, there's pretty much no reason not to do it.
Breve continuing the, hey, I've got the money for this, might as well spend it. Meanwhile, Data's going to show us what's on Zora today, so 500 rupees. In exchange, Zora is going to hand you probably nothing. How did I know?
I, for one, am shocked that the King of the Fish would scam us like that.
Never happens, ever.
And just another pod small key on the Zora ledge there, as Breve finds the outlet of the Old Man Rescue. So we'll go ahead and grab him right now.
Yep, that outlet always has to be on West Death Mountain. Can be in Hera, but oftentimes isn't. But since the Old Man does have to be returned, the game has to put it here somewhere. One of the few constants in cross keys. And the Old Man is like, well, since I was in the dark, I have a map to the dark. And by dark, I mean Dark Pod. Dark Palace, Palace of Dark, what? English. Don't mind me. Yes, Pod of Darkness. Palace of Darkness of Darkness. It's a new thing.
You heard it here first, folks.
Coming to Breath of the Wild 2.
The dataplet is following right behind Breve and cleaning up the rest of Hyrule Castle, and I suspect we'll see him on Death Mountain soon as well. Ooh,
hello.
Breve.
Palace.
Yeah, fine swamp, but no flippers on his side.
It's important to note that there was also a big key on top of Spectacle Rock, so the mirror probably going to be required this seed. Oh, this is a gross connector. Especially since we're just about to hookshot over to East Death Mountain. And
Yeah, I
instead
feel
the-
like I would put off Spiral Cave right now until after I had done the stuff on the east side. What do you think on that one?
I mean, it's not hard to get back here because it's just a Hyrule Castle entrance, and we have a Hyrule Castle entrance near Link's house. So I don't hate the idea of doing this. It does get a little rewarded. Gets to the top of Death Mountain, but I might have held off on this for a little bit, like you said, and do East Death Mountain instead. But you know, there are arguments both ways. And finds another connector immediately. Oh, but
Ooh.
does get Paradox out of it. So 7 checks here. Starting off with Bombos.
Which we just saw on the Turtle Rock entrance.
But we're still a ways away from that.
And looks like dataplet was going to go back into Hyrule Castle to check out those connectors, but headed towards Saha's Closet and the pod entrance first.
Yeah, I was wondering why dataplet wasn't using the fire rod, and then I remembered dataplet doesn't have the fire rod because it has been to the back of Saha's Closet, so we'll be picking those up here momentarily. I mean, while Breve is going to show us what these, at least one of these connectors are. Oh, it's just another end to Dark Death Mountain. Which overall is pretty nice, because these can be 2 entrances that you can kind of isolate if you're not interested in doing them, like I am a lot of times. So having a way over here is pretty valuable.
Yeah, especially since he sort of just moved away from these again. When you're on West Death Mountain, you kind of have the choice of hookshotting over or going into the Dark World here and checking out these 2. So yeah, being able to still kind of wrap these up even after having gone in a different direction is really nice.
And yes, now he's going to go back. Does have the option to go drop and check the one-way entrance, or the one-way connector here in Paradox, but also did see the Quarreling Brothers house connector, so has a little bit of a decision to make. I suspect it'll be the Quarreling Brothers house, and I'm going to be wrong in that assumption. I would have checked the Quarreling Brothers house in this scenario, and then if that's nothing, come back and check this entrance right here. But, like, you know, Breve here, not the one punished. Although this is all you can do right here. I suspect we'll jump down. Yeah, it does have the book, which we got in Paradox, so we'll be able to check that entrance. So this is actually turning out to be really nice.
Yeah, this is when a cross key seed feels really good, when the seed's just like, oh, you're done in this area, let me give you a connector to a different one. Looks like Breve is not too concerned with that Desert Palace main entrance right now. Ooh, and finds the bow in chest game.
Don't worry, we'll just give you the bow instead. Now he's gonna check it.
Oh, yeah, actually, no, this is smart, because if you go in that desert entrance, the rocks move as you go in, so then you can't leave again. So this has to be his last check in the area if he's going to do it.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Quick shout out to Data for having exactly 500 rupees. I'm sure that was entirely planned. So a lot of nice items. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was about to say the same thing, I think, right? We found a lot of stuff, but our access to the world is pretty slim at this point. Even with that Dark World access we have, our runners don't have any way to get across the river and out of the pod area in Dark World.
I mean, logically, we've got the flippers, we've got the hook shots, so we do have access to a lot of the Dark World. It's just convoluted and messed up. At least dataplet does. Breve still needs to head over to Sick Kid to pick up those flippers, and unfortunately that's a little bit isolated at the moment.
Yeah, in my defense, that's a really common thing to forget about. I was thinking about either gloves or
Definitely.
hammer to get up to that hookshot point, but yeah, you can definitely swim around.
Well, there's our Turtle Rock pop out, so that Bombos becomes less valuable all of a sudden. A little surprised Breve didn't choose to take advantage of the situation and do the Quarreling Brothers connector, but Breve has other ideas. That really wants full health, which makes sense. 5 hearts and you're on Death Mountain. You're going to want to be careful with the health.
Yeah, those cabbages do not care what armor you have.
So Breve is going to give us our first dip into Misery Mire. 6 chests that we have access here, 4 of which are in logic. The 2 fire-locked chests are not in logic until we get all 3 Mire small keys.
And dataplet is going to put off that Spiral Cave check for at least a minute, so I would suspect we'll see East Death Mountain out of him. He will also be able to check this first chest in Swamp Palace.
Clearly this is going to be the hammer. Okay, no. Nice try. That's good. The hammer's in the second chest, which we need the Swamp Small Key for. That's gross. So I wonder if Breve finds anything here. 4 of the chests I believe are in logic. Well, I don't... Mire key logic is weird to me.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
For sure the fire locked are all 3 small keys, but I don't know about the chest next to the big chest.
That one is in logic, I believe, with 1 small key.
Okay.
But that's, of course, not counting the ones that you pick up along the way, so...
I've been too focused on Breve's side. I haven't actually seen what dataplet has found. Oh, there's the big key to Ice Palace in the Firelock side of Misery Mire.
Yeah, part of what makes Mire weird is that there are all those rooms in the back that you never go to, but you can sort of spend keys on doors back there, so... it unfortunately takes a death there on his way to the cutscene chest.
Really bad, unfortunately, because that's an out of the way chest. But it looks like Breve is going to go back in. Unfortunately, those Wizrobes do 4 hearts of damage, and that one likes to kind of hang out right in the center and ruin everyone's life.
And yeah, it looked like dataplet did not find much of anything on East Death Mountain. Found the potion shop, but is headed back to Spiral Cave right now.
So this will take him obviously to the top of Dark Death Mountain, where we'll probably find the Paradox Cave. Actually, I don't think there's any way you don't find Paradox in this situation, because there's one entrance on both East and West Dark Death Mountain. All right, take 2 with the Wizrobe. Alright. Luckily, the Wizrobes are super weak. And die to basically anything. Kind of unfortunate that you come back for that chest and it's just a heart piece.
I believe the lobby chest is in logic, because no matter how you spend that key under the small pot, you can get to a switch of some kind. Oh, flute in the map chest of Misery Mire.
That's really nice. Just even just for, you know, routing purposes. And hopefully we'll draw Breve back to Kakariko to get the flippers off of Sikid. So this definitely worked out for Breve.
Yeah, especially because it feels like those flippers are really our next logical progression, swimming around and getting to West Dark World.
Meanwhile, Data's just kind of following in Breve's footsteps for the moment, checking out and going back into Paradox Cave. It'll be interesting to see if dataplet chooses to follow the other entrance here, or instead looks at the Quarreling Brothers connector, and he's looked like he's gonna follow the other entrance here. So no one wants to do the Quarreling Brothers. Apparently no one likes the Quarreling Brothers. I think the Quarreling Brothers are nice people, but
the flute might also open up the Ice Rod Cave area for us, which I don't think we've seen any of. Runners are hoping to have gloves before heading there, since you can only get 2 out of the 3 entrances, but having the flute to get there a lot faster certainly makes it more appealing.
Rev, no, you're missing something there. Pepe hands, man. Rev, definitely going to need to remember that the flute, or the flippers are on Sikid, or at least, you know, remember that you need Sikid. And he's over in Kakariko.
Yeah, certainly is always a quick trip back with the flute, but
Data, meanwhile, picking up their bow. So yeah, so as you mentioned, we kind of have a lot open to us. It's just a matter of when our runners are going to get there. For dataplet, the path is open. He just has to take it. For Breve, without the flippers, though, going to kind of get a little bit, you know, squeezed maybe into the flippers sooner rather than later, considering we're not seeing a whole lot progression-wise to kind of advance to where we need to go, considering there really wasn't much in Mire except the Ice Palace Big Key. Interesting to see where Data is heading off to now. This might be an Ice Palace play. I'm hoping it's an early Ice Palace play. It's not an Ice Palace play. looks like he might just be heading back to... Oh, no, he's going to check the other Howard Castle entrance, so he'll just end up right back on Dark Death Mountain. And
Yeah,
maybe this time... Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, he will also have another opportunity to check the Corlin brothers.
Someone check this connector. I demand to know. Maybe this will give us easier Dark World access. Of course I say easy. No! Gosh dang it. Never gonna know.
There's West Dark World access for Breve by way of Desert Palace.
There's a super easy West Dark World access that's been available since the beginning. Lovely. Looks like Data's going to be doing this as well, although they will be taking the flippers and hookshot intended way. Did get a Skull Woods, back of Skull Woods, which is nice. Don't have any small keys yet, although we can just go get one from Skull Woods. And with the Fire Rod and the sword, we could do it. Not in logic, but we could do it.
Dataplet finding the Agate Tower. I believe this was at the Dark Potion Shop. Finds another fairy in a bottle, which he immediately releases, planning ahead to take a death warp out of the Dark Maze after getting the second chest. Data gets that Thieves Town small key, which normally you only need to actually check the big chest, but is also required to put blind in logic, since otherwise you could spend your small key in a ridiculous way and not be able to get back to the boss.
Alright, I am back from my little mini excursion. I did notice that Breve found Eastern Palace and didn't go in, which is the smartest thing to do because there is never anything in Eastern Palace ever in Cross Keys. Ever. Changed my mind.
I'll just say watch my race versus Faraime.
That's fair, but most of the time there's never anything in Eastern Palace, and with the bow it's like if I just had the big key I can full clear it in one go. I noticed Dataplet does have the Thieves Town small key and you were talking about it, so I'm assuming that was an Agate Tower.
Yes, it was. Which was over in the Dark World Witch's Hut.
Nice. We do find King's Tomb, which is always a good thing. Which I believe that was the back of Skull Woods. I think. Yeah. Which is good, because that means this is not one of those Skull Woods that's rude and makes you save and quit.
Dataplet collecting his Master Sword out of the Dark Lumberjack's hut.
I gotta say, Breve dropping down is a little bit dangerous because you can accidentally drop down into the bumper room and be forced to use your small key when knowing that you can just walk over and find one of the entrances, but doesn't get punished this time. And finds our second castle tower key.
That one we
Luckily,
know
that's-
is, yeah, not going to be required.
Yeah, thankfully, because we were able to see the item. Now, maybe I missed it. Did Breve do any of the Village of Outcast area?
He did not. That's an interesting choice to save and quit there. Yeah, because from where he was, he could have just gotten wall mastered, which would take him back to the top part of the front of Skull Woods there, and would be able to just walk back out. So he is going to have to take another sort of long trip back into the Dark World over there, one way or another.
Kind of curious to see what Breve is doing. We know this is nothing. Well, maybe Breve doesn't know that, so this might just be checking a quick thing to see, oh, maybe I need to find the well, but learning that the well today is at the escape drop-down, which requires a glove, unfortunately. But it looks like Breve is just going to go right back to the Dark World through this connector, so it's not a big time loss, but, you know, could have maybe been routed slightly more efficiently.
Dataplet also showing off that hook shot through the spikes there in the pinball room with Skull Woods. Mostly a swag trick, but was really convenient there that he was able to get wall mastered on the first cycle.
Man, I don't know that trick myself, but like you said, it is definitely swag worthy. Meanwhile, Desert Right leads us to the floating island, which is good. You know, we don't know what's there yet, but if there is an item there, we know the connector, so that's always good information to have. And I believe Data is going to go ahead and take the small key that they grabbed from Skullwoods and use it to clear Skullwoods. So always nice here. And I want to say Dataplet stocked up on potions. Dataplet found potion shop, so I believe Dataplet has some blue potions to work with.
Yeah, at least one blue for sure. But definitely a tricky fight, Master Sword Moth on this low of health.
But we do know from Breve's map check just now that this will be a crystal. Also saw crystals at Pod, which we knew, and Ice Palace, which we didn't know. So some nice early map check information. I say early, we're 57 minutes into this race. A lot of runners tend to not do a map check until about an hour in. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. But we also get a big key to Eastern Palace. Hey, we know where Eastern is.
So definitely a good choice from Breve there to put off that eastern dip.
And this is always... This is kind of what can be nice about cross keys, in that it sometimes lends to nice routing, and this is kind of exactly what it's going to happen. You know, Breve is going to be able to take this, as will dataplet, big key straight over to eastern for another dungeon clear. These are definitely the feel-good moments of cross keys, where it's just, it all comes together so nice.
And Breve taking a little bit of extra time in the front of Skullwoods to conserve some magic, so we'll have some more Fire Rod shots available for this moth fight.
Yeah, for runners who might have a little bit of difficulty with moth, my recommendation is always just, you know, kind of take it slow. Don't try to, you know, do this dungeon or do the boss as fast as you can, and the Fire Rod shots can really help. Even if you don't damage Mothula, you can sometimes get Mothula down to you to where you can't damage Mothula. And we're seeing Breve kind of do what I said, you know, not really trying to rush right in. Took it a little slow, didn't get hit once, so very nicely done right there by Breve.
And we're definitely going to see some sync from our runners, because you have to think Breve is going to take that eastern big key straight into the dungeon where dataplet is right now.
Always nice to see runners take weirdly different routes and then somehow still end up in the same place at relatively the same time.
It could, strangely though, work out badly for Breve having found this connector over to West Darkworld, because that means he's not really going to get forced to go back and find those flippers. So it might be a while before he finds those, and if those wind up being required for something in Swamp Palace, that could definitely be a stumbling block for him later on in this race.
Yeah, definitely. That seems to be the big thing that Data has on Breve, are those flippers. Although Breve does have that flute because they went into Mire, so each runner having something potentially important that the other doesn't. Just for right now, Breve's is more pressing potentially because we know where Swamp Palace is. We have the hook shot. So it could be something of value more for dataplet right now than it is for Breve. But, like you said, we don't know how required these flippers are right now.
There's a Skullwood small key here in Eastern Palace, so the Seed expecting a double dip out of our runners, but as little as runners worry about breaking key logic normally, Skullwood's key logic even less so.
Yeah, there's no one bothers with these Skullwood small keys unless you accidentally put yourself in a scenario where you need one, which is happening. So where do we think this hammer is? I think hammer is kind of our next big item that we're looking for. Obviously the mirror is also something that would be really nice as well. But the hammer is kind of, I think, the next big thing that we need.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of this Dark World loop left, right? Our runners can walk all the way down to the Swamp Palace area, check out Hype Cave, and then there are still both of those Ice Rod Cave areas in both the Light and the Dark World, which Breve will not be able to get to without those flippers once again.
That's true, so that could be something that is locked behind flippers, that puts the flippers required, so yeah, that's a good call on your part for sure. So now we're in, I'm pretty sure both runners are kind of taking stock of the situation, not a whole lot of information early. We do have knowledge of 4 crystals, which is decent. And this will give us information on a dungeon that we don't know. which is always nice, but kind of low on big keys. Don't really have a whole lot of small keys, and our items are decent but not great. So it will be interesting to see what we find here. Ow. Data, unfortunately, having a little trouble getting the Armos quick kill. Shot the first arrow a little too early.
Yeah, there are definitely lots of areas kind of on the runner's minds as we drop the red pendant from Armos, so not a whole lot here in Eastern Palace. But things like Ganon's Tower, which we found very early, but we can't clear much of until we find something like the hammer or the red cane to open up the right-hand side. Ice Palace, that our runners might be thinking about as well. When is the right time to dip further into there?
I would be skeptical of Ice Palace right now. Although I would finish out I would finish out the route before I go into Ice Palace. I'm not going to stop everything I'm doing to go into Ice Palace. I'm basically doing what Dad is doing, and that's checking Village of Outcast, probably going down to South Dark World, and probably taking that over to Dark World Shopping Mall before choosing to do Ice Palace. But I would be skeptical of Ice Palace at this point. That dark room that dataplet though just found at Thieves Town, that was the front of the old man rescue. Data did a little bit of a, hold out the sword, kind of held up a little bit, kind of got stopped, and was like, okay, so that's I would jump down had I continued forward. So I wonder what, because I think at this point Breve needs to do a little bit something that's different from Data to kind of jump back into a position, and saving and quitting seems to be one of those things. Although I think he saved and quit because he accidentally jumped down.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually get out of that cave. There's sort of a pit in the lower right corner that if you fall in, it'll take you back to the entrance up on the ledge. So you can salvage that even if you fall down there. But maybe...
I think Breve is getting their flippers, just wrong house next door.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe what happened was Breve thought about Sick Kid and suddenly wanted to check that. Finds those flippers.
Good. So in terms of items, that kind of evens us out item-wise. Although Breve does have that flute. We do find Bumper Cave. I think at this point, I mean, having connectors is still nice, but we've seen kind of the major connectors that we need to find. Like, we've already been to the top of Floating Island. We've seen TR Bridge. I think the only major entrance that has to have a connector attached to it that we haven't seen is the top of Bumper Cave.
Yeah, there's also the Mire area that you could be thinking about. That's really the only region of the world that we haven't been able to get to yet.
True, but that could also be in a situation where there's not even a connector to it, and your only access there is Flute and Titan's Mitts. I was thinking more of the entrances that are guaranteed to have to have a connector attached that we've seen a good number of.
Yeah, and of course, chasing that, trying to find that bumper ledge connector doesn't have a lot of value right now without the mirror. Ooh, Thieves Town, however.
Nice, quick 4 checks here. We do have the small key, so assuming that we find the hammer and then before you find the big the big key, we'll be able to full clear this dungeon, and that's always a sigh of relief, knowing that you wouldn't be leaving something behind.
Yeah, Breve, meanwhile, is getting caught up on these flipper checks. Does not have Zora money at this point, but that was just a heart piece.
Data did pick up the lamp, though, in Thieves' Town, so Dark Room's now available to us.
And yeah, I don't think we've found anything interesting in any of the dark rooms that our runners have done. And as we just talked about, those dark connectors are not super likely to give us anything interesting.
Have we seen all the dark connectors? I know there's one at the eastern entrance that is the Death Mountain Descent. I don't know if we've seen the other end of that. I don't think we have.
Data is opting for this one-way connector, though, over swimming across to the Dark World shopping mall.
And unfortunately got a little punished for it. Alright, so what's next on our list? Looks like Data's heading back to the desert area, or, you know, going to Desert Palace. Probably gonna check. Let's see, because this is the easiest way back to West Dark World. Breve, on the other hand, kind of surveying the situation from east, Death Mountain, found potion shop, not much else. Saving and quitting, looks like they're going to be heading back to Sanctuary to do some more Dark World checks. Catfish is super orphaned, and unfortunately we can't do anything with that until we get a glove.
Yeah, it's starting to feel more and more like Ice Palace might be the answer at this point.
Or it could just also be Light World or Dark World shopping mall, which neither runner wants to go to.
Yeah, I think at this point I would have done Ice Rock Cave even without a glove. I mean, those entrances have just been available literally since the start of the game, so
one of them is going to have a glove, and you're just going to feel really bad about that and be like, "Oh man, I hate when that happens."
So this might be the dark shopping mall for dataplet. That's about all he's got left in this part of the world, I believe, unless there's some sort of connector over here I'm forgetting about.
No, you're not forgetting a connector. It looks like Data has decided that this might be faster than just going to the desert area, which makes sense considering he doesn't have the flute to just quickly get over to the witch's hut. Oh, nope, this is going to be Dark World shopping mall. I forgot about this whirlpool that's just right here. So that's good knowledge on dataplet's part, knowing that that whirlpool is right there and can get you quick access over here. It is not something you see outside of cross keys or entrance shuffles. And yes, as Incoherent in chat says, if you're trying to fake flipper that, that is dangerous. rewarded with another connector.
And yep, connector leading us to a part of the world we could already get to.
Alright, Data, make the play into Ice Palace. I believe in you. Nope.
This might be Misery Mire, actually.
That makes sense. I might not agree with it, but that makes sense.
I do sort of like the way this paths that he can check out Misery Mire and then continue on to the Ice Rock Cave area if there's nothing in here.
Yeah, this does route a little bit nicely. And as we know, there isn't anything in here except the Ice Palace Big Key, which I guess, you know, would help maybe make Ice Palace slightly more appealing because you do have the big key. But at the same time, you know, Dad is probably not gonna head over to Ice Palace until he does the Light World Shopping Mall.
Oh yeah, the flute is going to be in here as well.
Oh,
so
that's right. Flute.
That old thing.
You know, who needs a flute? Well, probably these runners. So both runners at this point just kind of continuing to follow and cover each other's tracks. So hopefully we'll be able to see something new here. Still, you know, we're missing a lot of stuff. Still no hammer. Still no Cane of Samaria. No mirror. And our big keys are a little barren at the moment.
And 3 dungeons that we're missing, which is a little surprising considering how much of the world we've seen.
We're missing Pod, Hera. What's our 3rd dungeon?
We've not seen the back of Desert, at least.
That's true. Looks like Breve is going to give us, you know, check out the Hype Cave entrance, probably work their way into Thieves Town, and then hopefully we get our way over to Dark World Shopping. Or no, we've already seen Dark World Shopping Mall. Dang it! Light World Shopping Mall.
Dataplet is able to route this Misery Mire dip a little bit more efficiently since he had that small key on the way in.
Yeah, even just having one small key makes Mire a lot easier to route. Like you said, just because you're able to kind of open the first small key door, you know, pretty early on. It looks like Dataplet is done here. You're going to take the death and head over to the Light World Shopping Mall for 2 checks because can't get the 3rd. Although he's going to save and quit because he's going to activate his flute first. You're just keeping us in suspense. No, he's going to... I don't...
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine at this point.
This is actually a connector over to Kakariko.
Yeah, this lets out at the house on the northwest corner.
Yep. I just want progression.
I imagine our runners are feeling the same thing at this point.
I'm not the only one who wants progression in the seed. Our runners are probably looking for something too. Yeah, this has been an odd seed in that it really, like, we haven't really picked up much progression at all in the last half hour.
Yeah, I mean, it felt really good there for a minute. Our runners found Skull Woods, got the crystal, got the Eastern Palace big key, and then just kind of everything fizzled out after that.
And then they went into Eastern Palace, which had nothing and was a pendant because Eastern Palace is terrible. Alright, what's on dataplet's mind? Data's going to do Magic Bat because Data hasn't done that yet. Interesting to see where breve is headed to now. This might be Dark World Shopping Mall for breve. Yep. I'm not saying Eastern did nothing wrong. I'm just saying that it's always empty. Except in my co-commentator's race. Which, good thing I wasn't the one running that because I would have last located it.
I mean, I gotta get lucky once in a while, so.
I saw a quick map check from brev's side. I don't think there was any new information though. Where's dataplet going? There's nothing here that I can think of.
Yeah, Swamp is up here, but no small key yet. Is this a...
This connector... Oh, okay. Well, this connector will lead to the top of Dark Death Mountain, which isn't going to actually give him anything, but, hasn't checked it, so you might as well.
Oh my gosh, are we finally going to see this Quarreling Brothers connector?
We're not, because this leads us to the Light World, and this is a dark... Oh, dataplet might do it. Data, do it! That was my best Palpatine voice. Meanwhile, breve is gonna finally give us Light World. No, Data's not gonna do it. Yes! Yes! We've done it.
Woo! Finally.
It's happening. Also on brev's side, it's happening. We find a Gina's cave. Things are happening. This is exciting. It's a good connector. Once we find the mirror, it's gonna be right here. Darn it. Alright. I gotta think the answer is Ice Palace at this point.
Yeah, I think it pretty much has to be.
We also did see the Smith house over on the Light World Shopping Mall, which I guess we could have guessed, because Smith does have to be in the Light World and can't be behind something that isn't that is anything other than like glove locked. So that it eliminates a lot of possibilities. Alright, we're going into Ice Palace. Yeah, it could have been in glove locked entrances, but there's not a whole lot of them in the Light World. There's only 3, I think. I think we're going to find the hammer here in Ice Palace. Or a glove. I think a glove actually might be more... I think it's the glove we're going to see.
Yeah, and it's going to be really frustrating for the runners if it's just right here in the first chest.
It's always going to be first chest. Looks like dataplet's going to be making the same play.
Oh my goodness.
Hammer. First chest. Always the first chest. So what does that actually give us?
I mean, the biggest thing for me is left side of GT at this point.
There you go. Yep, that is definitely a left side GT is open.
Breve is going to go ahead through Ice Palace, which you could definitely make a case for either way. I mean, without a glove at this point, we're not in a position to finish it off, but we do have that big key for ice, so that's a little bit more tempting to go forward.
You're here. You know, I'm not surprised that Breve is following through. Data is contemplating life for a few seconds. And deciding that he's going to nope out, so we're going to get some divergence. Luckily, GT is pretty easily accessible, just a quick save and quit over to Sanctuary, although that's not what Dad is doing. I think he recognized that he saved and quit to the wrong place.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever had a cross key seed that didn't make me question a few life choices.
Sometimes they're nice. Alright, so Breve is probably hoping that there's a glove in here. That would be huge for Breve, because that way they can clear out Ice Palace. dataplet, meanwhile, doing just as smart of a play by going straight over to GT. Oh good, the red meringue. That's exactly what we were looking for. So without the glove, there's going to be 2 checks in here that Breve is going to leave behind. That's the vanilla big key chest. Actually, there's 3 checks that's being left behind without a glove. Vanilla big key chest, the chest before the vanilla big key chest, which I'm sure there's a better name for it than that, and the boss.
I believe that's the map chest, is the other one on the right side. Oh, and dataplet getting paid off immediately finds the Swamp Small and Silvers in Dark Magician's room.
Those chests in logic. Considering I don't think anything else here in left side GT is actually in logic. I know the map chest right here has to be at least 4 keys locked, and I know Rando room is locked by all 4 smalls.
And yeah, Breve not finding anything in Ice Palace, unfortunately.
And yeah, Incoherent in chat is correcting me. If the far back is, Ice Armos actually is with the 3 small keys. I forgot we had 3. I was thinking we only had 2, but no, we have 3 for sure. Well, the seed is pointing us, as you said, to Swamp Palace. Green pendant, but fully clearable.
And yeah, I can't think of anything else that it's really opening up for us. Ooh, Misery Mire, big key. Sorry, I was saying I couldn't think of anything else. The hammer was really opening up for us. I forgot to put the subject in that sentence.
I understood what you were saying. No worries.
Normally you'd be thinking about Pod maybe with that hammer, but we don't really know where that is at this point.
I say, yeah, we have not seen Pod yet. think every entrance that we have left is locked by something that we don't have, whether that be the mirror or a glove or boots.
Yeah, I'm not even sure we have any connectors left floating that might get us into the mire area, so...
Not that I have marked. All my connectors that I've seen are accounted for. We've seen all of the desert entrances, we've seen all of Hyrule Castle, and every connector that I have marked, I have both ends marked. Although, I don't think we have... You know what? I take that back. I don't think we've seen the other end of Death Mountain Descent, which we know that's at Eastern Palace. So there is one connector that might still be floating out there. To answer chat, they didn't finish Ice Palace because you need a glove to finish Ice Palace. And yes, Goomba, we have seen the dam. Swamp Palace is fully clearable at this point.
Yeah, the glove for Ice Palace is one of those things that you learn early on in your entrance rando career. The first time you get into ice without a glove, which of course is very impossible in normal seed.
And I believe is the only dungeon that actually hard requires a glove to clear in cross keys. Yes. I went through that in my head and I'm like, yep, that is correct.
Yeah, another one of those interesting, very random dev choices that got made, 20 years ago that... 25 years ago, I guess, that really make Rando an interesting game.
I'm positive the devs were thinking, oh my gosh, in 25 years, this game is going to be loved by so many people because they're going to play a randomized version of it. Hey, look, it's a glove.
All right, we got to give a shout out to Incoherent on that one. He called for a hammer in that chest, but we'll give him some credit for glove.
That too. Data gonna continue on, but that glove opens up a lot. Opens up a lot of entrances. Lets us clear Ice Palace. So there's plenty to do now if you're dataplet. And Breve, I don't think is going to be too far behind. I think the time difference at this point is Breve continued on in Ice Palace while dataplet left immediately after picking up the hammer.
Yeah, which will certainly have some impact on the incentive that each one of them has to go back to Ice Palace a little bit earlier. Since that's still 7 items that dataplet left behind in there.
I know Incoherent in chat, saying, okay, do we feel like doing left side swamp? I think in this instance you have to. We're still looking for a lot of things. And there's still a lot of information that we're missing in general. Do we get a small key to Hera? That's gross, but we haven't found Hera, so it's not that bad. Where did this pop out again? Where's Breve going?
I think this is somewhere in the pod area, so I think he's just taking the connector over to... Oh, no, I'm very confused. Don't mind me.
I think maybe you're just like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't need to do that. Yeah, just a quick flute over to the mountain. Oftentimes, if there's a connector that doesn't lead to anywhere significant, I delete it. So I knew that wasn't a significant one, so I deleted it. And then I saw Breve going back in. I'm like, oh, I don't remember where this led out to.
Yeah, that's a really good tip for sort of cleaning up your note-taking. Depending on which tracker you're using, that can really cut out a lot of the visual clutter.
Alright, left side swamp with all the answers clearly. It's gonna all be right here. Chest number 1 is 20 rupees. Slightly disappointed. And the single arrow. Oh man.
I am Link's total lack of surprise.
I'm just defeated. It is a unique item, so for those of you who are really big on hints that aren't entrance, because entrance hints are actually different from standard or open or inverted hints, you would have seen, had you just been running standard or open, you would have seen a unique item, and rupees are on left side swamp. Had these races have hints, which they don't for tournament purposes, it would have actually said the single arrow was on left side swamp. Dataplet choosing not to do the diver down. Without the Cane of Samaria, you would have to do the bomb setup, which is not as hard per se, but it takes a little more learning.
Yeah, it also depends on the setup you do, because I think the bomb setup, I could be wrong, really works best with the setup on the right side, whereas if you do the cane setup on the left, that doesn't translate as easily into the bomb setup.
I'm gonna smile and nod because that sounds good. I know my setup, and that's what I know.
I might be completely wrong because I really only know the right setup as well. So
yeah, I don't know the left setup with Samaria. Zelda, you would know the bomb setup instead of the Samaria setup.
I mean, you can always do the bomb setup, so
That's true. Dataplet having a little bit of trouble getting the spins here on this Argus fight, but takes care of it without much problem. Gets a small key for Turtle Rock and the green pendant. We know where Sahasrara is. That is just a quick flute over to 5 and jump in the Darkwood, which is really easy now with that hammer. Also, that was TR small key number 2.
which is pretty much enough to do most of Turtle Rock if you can find the right entrances for it.
Look, we've only seen the laser bridge entrance. Oh, but that's a big key. That's a GT big key.
Wow.
Gross.
So the climb is now in logic, as is a long walk back to that GT big chest.
Our pyramid today is not important as the back of escape, but we've already seen the Hyrule Castle small key, so both runners have already been to the back of escape.
Actually, I should be careful. The climb is not technically in logic without all of the small keys, I guess. but
that only
still
applies
available.
to the Moldorm 2 chest. The two Helmosaur, the two chests of mini Helmosaur are entirely in logic now. And that's always fun when the game is early on saying, hey, you have to climb GT for those two chests. But I don't think either runner is going to prioritize that for a while. Data did do a map check here in the Light World, found out that both Desert and Hera are crystals, which means Thieves Town is our last pendant today. Oh yeah, the well is here, which we had access to once we've got that glove. Canis Samaria. Things are starting to look up now, and this is kind of how cross keys can work. You know, we're an hour and 30 minutes in, and we're like, God, I've got one crystal. I'm still missing a lot, and now we're an hour and 38 minutes in, and you're thinking, okay, I need the big key to Desert Palace. I need to find the backup Desert Palace. I need to find Hera, and I need the pod big key, and that's it.
Yeah, that cane gives us so much. Pretty much all of Turtle Rock is available. Defeating Trinex is also going to give us a free warp back to the Turtle Rock main entrance, wherever that is, which could be pretty valuable if that spits us out in the Mire area. And yeah, if nothing else, we can just walk backward through most of Turtle Rock at this point to clear out pretty much all of it.
A little work without the mirror, but I would expect probably sooner rather than later our mirror is going to show up. Like I said, that mirror was going to show up.
Oh, what a good video game this is.
It was in fact sooner. Let's see, where's Breve headed to? Oh, he's going to take this over to the back of the desert entrance. So this is one entrance that we haven't seen. Hopefully Breve remembers that the Cac Well is accessible, because that's 5 very quick items, which are important because it has the Canis Samaria. But this could be something that maybe Data doesn't do immediately, because this is kind of an off... Well, it's nothing, so that's unfortunate. But I was going to say, if there was something back there, like maybe a vanilla back at desert, that can oftentimes be a check that you don't see our runners doing.
Yeah, and Breve's going to loop in the rock in the sort of M-shaped part of this run up to desert. So a couple of glove entrances you can check off the list pretty quickly.
Saw what it was, please let me know, because I didn't.
I think that was just an empty house from Kakariko.
But Breve does pick up the GT Big Key. But for dataplet, that is crystal number 2.
And yeah, there's that value.
Yeah. Pops out at the Mire area. So since you already beaten the boss, I think using the small key isn't terrible. Although you wouldn't be, I don't think you'd be able to get to the middle area. I think you still need one more for that. Breve?
Well, the one key off the pokey would get him past the Chain Chomp's room at least.
I don't think so, because you need to use the small key to even get to the pokey room, and then
That's right.
So you would be able to get the Chain Chomp chest, but you wouldn't be able to advance on. But with having the back of Chorrock so easily accessible, we can still just kind of reverse our way back there.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you as I think we were going to talk about Breve heading back into Ice Palace with his glove.
Yep, just a couple of checks here. Unfortunately, still without that Cane of Samario, so not going to make this a quick trip. When Data comes back in, though, Data will be able to use Icebreaker and kind of quickly clear out everything here. But we find another big key. Hey, there's one of the big keys that we're looking for, the big key to Desert Palace. I suspect we might find Pod here soon. Although there's only one entrance left in this area that we haven't seen, with the Mire entrance actually being Quake.
Yeah, that Pod Big Key is really the only item we're looking for. I guess there's an outside chance of needing mitts if one of our crystal dungeons is at the Ice Palace entrance, but I think that's about all we could really need mitts for at this point.
I think Data will come back to Spike. Oh, Data does have the Quake Medallion. We can check this anyways. I didn't think we had the Quake. There's Pod.
And Dataplet's really going to hope to find the Pod Big Key in here, since right now the only way back to this area of the world is a long walk through Turtle Rock.
And with 3 small keys, there's a lot you can do. With the bow and hammer in hand, I mean, if you really wanted to spend a long time here, you can do every check here with 3 small keys. That's not the big chest and the boss, but that's going to require kind of a lot of backtracking, so I'm not sure if Dad is going to want to do that. I suspect we're going to find one Pod key in here somewhere.
I firmly believe there's always a Pod Small Key in Pod and Cross Keys. While Breve collects his second crystal off of Cold Stare and finds the Thieves' Town Big Key. Again, not quite what we're looking for, since that's a pendant.
Yeah, but I don't think Breve knows that quite yet, so I think Breve is actually just going to take that straight to Thieves' Town. That's a little unfortunate, but maybe there's something in there, so this could be something that Breve needs. However, we know that Breve needs to get over to the Cack Well. But if maybe the Pod Big is in here, that could be of use. crazy. I'm still looking at my tracker, and there's so many entrances that we haven't seen, just because we haven't had the mirror or the glove for so long. Because like the mirror opens up, you know, the top of Hyrule Castle, Cave 45, Graveyard Ledge. We have access to the top of Dark Death Mountain, so it would allow us to go to, you know, the top of Light World Death Mountain. And the glove just opens up a couple more entrances as well, so there's still so much we haven't seen. There's a Tempered Sword, that's always fun. Data did not bomb jump, so Data will need extra keys to come back and complete this dungeon.
Yeah, also on the subject of those mirror checks, dataplet is the only one of our runners who did follow that Quarreling Brothers connector, which led out on the top of Bumper Ledge, which is another classic trap in Cross Keys.
It gives us access to Southwest Death Mountain Foothill Cave, which is everyone's favorite cave, because that's how it's labeled in hints.
The name just rolls right off the tongue.
Where is Data's next play? He's got a lot of options at this point. And to be fair, there's still a lot of item caves that we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen Hype Cave. I don't think we've seen Blind's Hut. Those are the kind of the two big ones. Obviously, everything else is just single item caves. But it looks like Data's going to take the mirror up to the top of Death Mountain.
Yeah, because we do have this big key sitting on top of Spectacle Rock.
That's right. And at this point, I think it would almost certainly be a required big key. Like, unless it's Skullwoods. I'm prepared for Skullwoods. Hera big key. Won't say no to it, but we haven't found Hera, so we're still looking for Hera at this point. It's the only dungeon we haven't seen. Oh, Mirror Shield.
And I feel like I missed something on Brev's side. Did he do the Thieves Town big chest when I was not looking?
He did. It was just a heart container.
Oh, so I just missed it.
Yes. Speaking of Hype Cave, we have found it here in Hera. Get a small key to Pod. That's good for dataplet. But that's about it. Doesn't look like there was anything of value in Thieves Town for Breve, but that is their third pendant and could pull the pedestal now if they so choose.
Oh wow, Death Mountain paying off again.
There's our other major item cave that we were missing. Unfortunately, this late in the game, there's not a whole lot that it could be. The ether doesn't do us any good. I don't know if dataplet looked at what was on Floating Island. Made sense that they save and quit because the old man takes us right here to TR Bridge, so you can just do some quick mirrors here. But I wasn't sure if dataplet checked what was on Floating Island, which we have a connector to. Meanwhile, we find one of our Turtle Rock entrances that we haven't seen, which will let Data clear out everything left in this dungeon.
Yeah, that'll also be a much faster trip back to the Mire area once we find that pod big key. Still have to backtrack through a little bit of Turtle Rock, but not all the way from Laser Bridge.
Dad, I'm like 98% certain you don't need this key. Although you might actually be right in saying that like he might have grabbed that key just so we can make the trip back to Pod a little bit easier. Breve, meanwhile, just got their Cane of Samaria, so probably not feeling too great about putting that off for so long, but was able to finally pick it up. Tata with some nice dodges there. Let's not get destroyed by chain chomps.
Breve also taking the same trip back to the Crystal Roller Room. We'll find his mirror. And then we'll probably go on to take on Trinex just after that.
You know, it's also occurred to me that we haven't seen the back of Desert either. So we're still looking for 2 dungeons at almost the 2-hour mark, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, and while we're talking about looking for entrances, that big bomb entrance that dataplet's walking past right now would definitely be possible for either Desert or Tower of Hera.
That's true, but we're still a little ways away from that being available right now. We can do Mire, which is one of our 5-6, but Pod being our other 5-6, we have not seen that big key yet, so still a little bit of ways from that potential becoming a reality. Well, nothing here on top of Hyrule Castle. A little bit surprising, honestly.
Yeah, getting access to those 3 entrances this late in the seed, you sort of figure one of them's going to be worthwhile.
Meanwhile, having a little bit of trouble here. Gotta be careful with their magic use and their health at this point. And the fact that Data just walked in and out of that entrance leads me to believe that that was nothing and I just wasn't paying attention for a second.
And yeah, Breve opted to play that Trinex fight a little bit safe. Started with the Ice Head just to make sure that the floor did not get icy while he was dealing with the Fire Head, and gets through the 3rd phase of that fight pretty nicely.
For crystal number 3, so actually a crystal lead on dataplet right now, but I think dataplet's been a little more thorough with their checks, and I think has a little bit more to it. Breve, meanwhile, not going directly back into Turtle Rock, which could be a little concerning. Although I don't think there was anything there.
Yeah, and I think Dataplet will have some time to catch up on those crystals while Breve is clearing out as much as he can of Palace of Darkness, which is just time you have to invest.
So where could these two missing dungeons be? Entrances that we have access to right now that we haven't seen. We haven't seen our third Dark World shopping mall entrance, the one that's under the rock, because we have only had our glove for about 20 minutes. We do have access to the top of Dark Death Mountain, so Hookshot Cave entrance is something. We have yet to see Graveyard Ledge. The aforementioned Southwest Death Mountain whatever cave that I've already forgotten. We have the House and Village of Outcasts that is locked by the hammer. And Cave 45, I think. I think those are the entrances that we have accessible to us that we haven't seen.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And definitely, a couple of boots-locked entrances if we ever track those down.
Southwest Death Mountain Foothill Cave. Thank you, Goomba. Bugnet for data from Vitreous, but more importantly, crystal number 3.
And I do sort of like what Breve did here. Found that Palace of Darkness entrance and decided to clear out everything else in the mire area, just hoping to find that pod big key before going in. Of course, we know it's not going to be there, but worth a shot.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense. If you're able to, like you said, find that big key, you can one-shot most of pod. Meanwhile, it looks like dataplet's going to go ahead and finish off Desert. Dataplet was only in here for the hammer, so he still had there's still 7 more checks for him. We know that I think the only thing he'll find is the Thieves Town Big Key, which is on Cold Stare.
Although, as you said, he's definitely going to pick up some time here coming back in with the cane. We'll just ice break through the right side and clear this up a lot faster than Breve did.
And you wonder if there's something on the pedestal, because, I mean, Breve has all 3 pendants, and they're all fully in logic. So there's no reason that there can't be something on Ped.
So I feel like this is a slight miscalculation from Breve here. I think he's trying to save his portal to get back to the mire area and pod after checking this big key on the top of Spectacle Rock. But of course you can't do that without making a new mirror portal.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate. Not going to be holding on to that portal. So then Breve hasn't been into pod at all then. Like, saw pod, said, okay, let's do the other checks, and then come back. Luckily, I don't think there was anything in pod that we saw.
Yeah, just the Tempered Sword is all I remember. So, I mean, heads up to think about an accessible big key, but just not quite going to work out the way he wanted it to, I don't think.
Meanwhile, Data is just kind of taking a minute to collect himself. To my knowledge, his stream isn't frozen. I see the timer on his stream still moving. I think right now he's just kind of contemplating something? Question mark? Hey, there we go. So yeah, I mean, Wolfie said it. Sometimes you just really need to go to the bathroom. It didn't occur to me until about 20 minutes into this race that I haven't eaten today, and I got really hungry. So I grabbed some M&Ms. Because that's a good breakfast.
I mean, rando's more important than food, right?
So nothing there on top of Floating Island, which is something I don't think Data saw, but Data's not going to get punished by it.
Looks like a setup for that bomb jump that I don't know. It looked like he lined up on top of the chest, which is really nice. You can bonk off the north wall to get a good Y pixel as well, but it's a good backup for when you don't have boots.
Yeah, a little surprised. I mean, normally if you have the small key to burn and you're doing Icebreaker, I would just, instead of going west like Data did, I would have just gone north and then bomb jumped back from this area.
Oh, I didn't notice that before. It looked like dataplet did not go back for the switch before doing Icebreaker. So that might have affected his routing a little bit. That also might have been what he was stopping to think about, was to make sure he was doing that the right way to be able to get through Ice Palace with the keys that he had.
That's true. But at the same time, I mean, if you have both the big key and both small keys, there's no reason to hit the switch if you're doing Icebreaker.
Dataplet also showing off the Fire Rod Sword Beams glitch and making those Sword Beam hits register as Fire Rod hits. Just poke through the shell a little bit faster and easier on your magic meter.
I'm surprised more runners don't do that more often. You know, it's not a hard thing to do, and it can help save you some Fire Rod shots.
And one more glove entrance Dataplet's checking out for us.
And it's nothing. But he can combine this with the Quarreling Brothers and check another entrance. And also check this one, which I forgot we haven't seen. And it's nothing. Except now he can't check Quarreling Brothers. Gosh dang it. I mean, we've already checked Quarreling Brothers, but we know it's to the top of Bumper Cave. Alright, this might be a right side GT play for Dataplet. Will be interesting to see if they choose to climb.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a good idea to prioritize those entrances a little bit, since there are still those 2 dungeon entrances we're looking for, but Kane also opened up right side of GT for us.
Yeah, I'd be a little more interested maybe in trying to find the dungeons first. I know we still need a big key. And maybe this is just data thinking, okay, you know, I'm running out of potential entrances that I have accessible to me. Let's see if we can maybe find something that gives me more dungeons, or that gives me more access to entrances, excuse me.
And our tracker does have all 4 GT keys on dataplet's side, so everything is available to him here in GT.
I don't think we've seen the last GT small key. I only have 3 marked. But maybe he does, and I just haven't. I've been missing out as well. It's entirely possible. Because I know our GT small key, Spec Rock Cave, the Uncle, or either the Uncle Chest, one of those two, and In Swamp. I don't know if we've seen a 4th.
Ooh, there's the pod big key.
Alright, well that's all we need item-wise. Dataplet now just needs to find entrances. So I suspect he's not going to climb right now. I think he's going to maybe seek out some entrances. We'll be checking the GT big key, or big chest, excuse me. But then maybe search out the entrances he needs. Breve not going to be far behind at this point. And this is kind of good news for Breve. This is kind of what Breve needed to do.
Yeah, I think Dataplet does have all the keys, because he has opened every door in the basement except for the middle door that you never open, and would have 2 left for the climb. So I think everything is in logic at this point.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think that pod big key is going to erase any thoughts that he had of climbing.
Or he's gonna climb. Alright.
We are batting 1,000 on being wrong.
I mean, I guess on Data's side, you know, if he's still looking for item density, you know, that this is kind of the most dense thing.
And yeah, question
is are left? 2, 3, 4. Just keep adding, dang it. Maybe even 5. There might be as many as 5 entrances that we haven't seen. What's behind GT? The back of Escape, which we have already seen by both runners because we had the Hyrule Castle small key. So entrances. Village of Outcasts, the Hammerlocked House, Cave 45, Graveyard Ledge, Southwest Death Mountain Foothill Cave, and I don't think we've actually seen the entrance to Death Mountain, because that's glove locked. So 5.
And have we seen either of the shopping mall glove entrances? I think light but not dark.
Yep, so 6 entrances. And yeah, one thing I didn't think about is that Data did spend the small key to do the maze in pod. So Data would still need he does have one extra key, so he can complete, or he can finish Helmasaur King, but not finish out everything in that dungeon. plus beating Hamilstor King would give us access to the Pyramid Fairy, which we can drop off, not in logic because we don't have all 6 pots, but could do. So yeah, so 6 entrances. You are correct about one of the shopping malls. We haven't seen the Dark World shopping mall yet. The rock under that one. But of course, I've been sitting here talking about this, and Dead is already almost done with GT. So you see, climbing GT isn't actually a major time sink. Like, obviously, you know, a lot of runners think, "Oh my God, I'm climbing GT. I'm spending 6-7 minutes." I mean, this has cost them a couple minutes at most. So hope you know the facade that, you know, doing these long checks cost a lot of time is maybe not as bad as runners think.
Yeah, and one thing to take into account too is that a good chunk of the time of the climb is that Agate 2 fight, which we know will not be required, so dataplet can just mirror out after the Moldorm 2 chest.
Oh good, our last Turtle Rock key. Nope, that was Turtle Rock key number 3.
Breve found us. Yeah, there was our 4th Turtle Rock key there in the pre-Moldorm chest, and Breve found a big key on the right side of Desert, but it was the Skull Woods big key.
Gross. Although they both have the Desert small key, and I don't recall where that was.
Yeah, I want to say the Desert Small was somewhere in the big item caves on top of Death Mountain when they found Blind and Hype Cave.
Looks like dataplet's gonna give us our check here. Breve both picked up and turned in the mushroom. And dataplet has that too. I didn't see where that was, but alright, so the answer is not there. Alright, so where is Breve off to?
Could be Cave 45, maybe? Guess we've also got Bombo's tablet just hanging around as well.
Yep. And no, we don't believe Breve has pulled Ped yet. Which, at this point, you've had all 3 pendants for at least 30-ish minutes.
I would suspect we'll see him do Ped right now and loop in that Skullwood's big chest as well. And it's actually routing together really nicely for dataplet, being able to check that potion shop on his way to the Southwest Death Mountain Foothills Cave.
Clearly this is going to be something, right? Oh. I mean, maybe.
It's possible.
I'm not sure where Breve is headed to now, because this isn't taking them to Turtle Rock Bridge. Oh, that's the other end of Death Mountain Descent, which I believe was at Eastern Palace, so those two connect to each other. Alright, we are quickly running out of entrances until we need either the mitts or the boots. We gotta find something soon.
And yeah, I think Breve is probably eyeing going back to Pod right now, but with just the 4 smalls and the big, there's nothing there in logic at the moment that we've not seen already on dataplet's side. Oh, but I forgot, Breve has not actually cleared that out because of the perhaps mishap with the mirror portal. We're not sure if that was a mistake or just his plan to come back to it later when he could full clear it.
Alright, nothing there, and I believe that was the last possible entrance. So I think we will either need the mitts or the boots to give us more access to entrance at this point.
And where are those items going to come from? I mean, is it just the Skullwoods big chest or pedestal?
I mean, pedestal seems most likely at this point, honestly. It's in logic. Maybe we find something here in Thieves Town, but that's not even, or not Thieves Town, Palace Archives, but that's not a logic. It looks like dataplet's gonna go ahead and do Thieves Town right now. So at this point, it just, you know, the race is who finds mitts or boots first, I think. Well, I thought Dado was going to do Thieves Town. But instead, we're going somewhere else.
Yeah, I think dataplet just walked past the desert big chest when he was in here a minute ago.
Oh, okay, and then just gonna check it real quick and then come back and do Thieves Town. That makes sense. But nothing there. Breve, meanwhile, gonna finish up crystal number 5 here momentarily, but probably will need to just go back in and finish out the rest of pod as much as they can.
I believe Breve has a fair bit of cleanup in Ganon's tower to do as well. They've done the right side, correct, but not the climb.
Yeah, Breve has done right side because that's where the pod big was, but Breve has not climbed.
So we'll see if they opt for that before the pedestal Skull Woods return. These are some really well-hidden dungeons. It's just very strange to see this much of the tracker full.
Right.
No idea where Desert and Hera are.
Like, I gotta imagine it's the boots that we would find before Mitts, because Mitts only open up 2 entrances. Boots opens up 4. I totally just missed the fact that Breve picked up the boots. Did I just... Hello?
I missed that as well. Was that off of Helmasaur?
I would have to think so.
Or did he grab the vanilla big key chest?
Would have grabbed vanilla big key chest, I guess, instead of doing harmless Hellway. Boots are pod big key chest. So that's 6 keys locked. Interesting.
Yeah, we just saw there the vanilla big key chest opens, so...
Well, that's probably go mode for Breve then. Probably.
Yeah, because most likely those last 2 entrances we need are gonna be boots locked.
Doesn't quite get the hammer yump. Looks like they were just a pixel off with their placement.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're not doing the dark basement and the compass chest first.
No idea.
I mean, we can see on the compass there that Breve is still missing 7 checks. So, okay, now is headed toward the back.
Nothing at Bombo's tablet, so dataplet desperately needs to head to pod, which is kind of unfortunate given its location. And he needs another small key because he did not do the hammer yump, and so he's only got 1 small key right now, which he would use to either finish the dungeon or check one of harmless Hellway or vanilla big key chest. So needs something good to happen right now. There's one of our 2 locations right there. That's the back of desert. Over at the Bonk Rocks by Link's house. Meanwhile, Data's just pulling pedestal. Pog. Oh. I was hoping there'd be something there.
So Breve absolutely galaxy braining, not even checking pedestal.
Dataplet found Mimic Cave. Where was that?
That was just outside of CAC. I think Breve has been there as well, actually, so...
Oh! I had that marked as not completed. Alright, so all Breve is looking for at this point is Tower of Hera.
Yeah, and it's looking good for Breve's chances at this point, since he has those boots, and 3 more entrances, where he might find Tower of Hera, or the Mitts, possibly.
I suspect Dataplet's not going back to Pod because it's really rude to get to. Although this... well, no. Oh, there's Hera. That is go mode for Breve.
Wow, so both of our missing dungeons, just right there behind Link's house.
So I hate to say that's probably GG's for Data, but this is going to be GG's for Data, and will be a big win for Breve, continuing the string of quote-unquote upsets here in the tournament.
Nice hook speed set up for the Hera pot there from Breve.
At this point, I'm just curious to know where the other pod smalls were that gave us access to those boots.
Yeah, I'm having trouble placing where those might be.
But that is 7 crystals for Breve. On to the Ganon fight. As long as the Scar doesn't ruin Breve's life.
I'm just trying to think of what we haven't seen. I mean, the only thing I can think of would be the laser eye exit from Turtle Rock, but I don't think that could have led anywhere interesting.
I don't think so. Catfish, which I think is where Dataplet is heading right now.
So yeah, could it be Catfish for a pod small, and then the other pod small in Harmless Hellway?
Potentially. Breve, meanwhile, already through phase 3. I know you're about to starting phase 4 here. It's got the silvers. This will be a very quick fight.
I guess it could also be the Mitts here at Catfish, which would open up a couple other entrances where those pod smalls might be.
This has to be. I was like, this has to be one of them. Breve, meanwhile, though, finishing off Ganon, get your GGs in chat for Breve, who will finish in first place and win this race, moving on to the second round on the winner's side.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to Breve. This was not the friendliest of seeds, but gets through with the win here.
That is first place, official time 2 hours, 33 minutes, and 56 seconds. And unfortunately, after seeing that finish, dataplet choosing to not finish out the seed, which is fair. You know, you're still missing a couple things. Not sure where they are. Don't disagree at all with the decision to forfeit. This was not a fun seed by any means.
All right. Let's move over to the interview screen. I know that Breve is quickly joining at least. Oh, that's not the interview screen. That's the interview screen.
Wrong screen.
Yeah, pressing buttons is hard. But yeah, I know that it's the wrong screen. Jesus, I'm sorry, I'm old. I miss buttons.
That's okay. We all do. But yeah, hopefully Breve will join us. Dataplet in chat right now if anyone had any questions for Dataplet. But hopefully we'll have Breve here momentarily. In the meantime, though, this was a really well race. Just a very rude seed. Both runners, it was never clear who was in the lead the entire time.
Yeah, and Palace of Darkness just being in such an out-of-the-way location with such a difficult time getting there and then being so important to the tail end of the seed was quite unfortunate.
I still just want to know where that last pod small key is to put those boots in logic. That's kind of where I'm interested in. Oh, was there a small key on the island? That would be understandable. Very fair.
So, the seed wasn't particularly slow, but I feel like my mojo is back in rolling just terrible seeds all tournament. So,
if you're in a tournament, you should expect bad seeds.
If you're on ladder, you should expect bad seeds.
If you're playing rando, you should expect bad seeds.
I think we covered everything there.
I think we're good. I think we got it.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, it seems like Breve went AFK, so... Oh no. I don't know how to join. There he is. There we go.
Hey, Breve. Jeez.
Yeah, sorry, I need to sort stuff. Get on my computer again.
All good. So before we start, first question: is it breve or is it Breve?
Breve.
Dang!
Heck. Oh, I feel bad now.
Okay, blame the
sorry.
commentators, folks. I wanted to say breve. I wanted to say breve, and then Wally said, "Yo, it's Breve, probably."
Yeah, whatever.
No, I don't mind.
GG though.
Thanks, yeah, Ian. That was, I felt terrible for most of that. Like, I could have had the hammer so soon, and then forgot about the well after getting the glove, so I missed Kane for a while, and yeah, ended up with all 3 pendants, but there just wasn't like a natural way to get to pet, so I was like, oh, well, I should be doing that, but following other little trails, and yeah, I don't know. it felt like a mess.
But I mean, you were able to avoid some pitfalls, like you never climbed GT, which I believe dataplet did, and like you said, you never pulled pedestal.
Yeah.
Kind of going through, how this seed went. The hammer being in a bad spot, pod in particular. Kind of talk us through kind of how you chose to route, because I think at one point after you finished Turtle Rock and you were spit out at the mire area, you went and saw pod, but then you also ended up mirroring over and fluting to the mountain to get that big key. Was that just kind of like a mental lapse, or had you kind of put pod off in the back of your mind for a little bit?
Yeah, I was kind of torn by that. Like I was going around and I was thinking like pod big key was the only actual item that I needed to finish. And I just got the mirror, so like a bunch of entrances that I needed to, like I obviously needed to find pod, but I also needed to find desert and Hera. And I was thinking like I can go and get that big key and check some other stuff, like other mirror spots and things, and hopefully find another Turtle Rock entrance, like one of the middle ones, and come back like that way to pod, to check pod, and hopefully have the big key if that happened, which wasn't really how it worked out in the end, because like that big key was that desert, or I think it might have been Hera, and then like I got the GT big key from like killing Argus ages before, and still hadn't been back to GT since getting Kane, so I found the pod big key there, and I was like, okay, go mode. And then I was like, still like, oh, I need all these entrances. I'm probably going to need boots and maybe mitts. And then after I got boots finally from pod, I like was torn up about like, what should I be checking more stuff in here, or just checking the boot spots, because I was down to 2 entrances. So I kind of did a ridiculous route through pod and like failed the hammer jump. I was thinking like I should just be going now with the boots, and I was like, oh, let me just check a few things, because it could be mitts, and like pod is really annoying to get back to if not. And then like I got to the bridge and I was like thinking I shouldn't be here anymore. I'll just do the hammer jump and get these 3 chests and go. And then I couldn't get the hammer jump, so I was like, okay, I'll get the dart, like the basement and that other chest over there, those 3, and then go. And then like I left and I was like, the only thing mitts would have actually unlocked was Ice Palace anyway, so I should have been out there ages ago. And then I just found the last 2 entrances straight away. So yeah, I was like, I knew the boots was like a lucky find, and it might have given me enough, but I was still feeling pretty bad about how I was rooting towards the end.
And yeah, I mean, everything worked out in your favor.
Yeah, I know.
What was a really bad seed. So GG's on your win. Looking forward now, you're either going to face Waterloo or Asclepios Rod. Any initial thoughts on your potential second round matchup?
I mean, I know they're both very good. I think I was in a couple of the same qualifiers as, or at least one same qualifier as Waterloo, and finished like 15-20 minutes ahead of me. And it's also true of dataplet and these ones. So like, yeah, I my thoughts are just like, I kind of know it'll be extremely tough matchup, whatever happens, because like I wasn't expecting to win this one either. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to like learn more about this mode really for the tournament. When I started, I didn't really expect to qualify, but I've learned a lot from just like comparing my VODs to the restreams and taking notes about how other people route. So I'm just going to keep doing that and learn as much as I can about it. Like, I'm not expecting to be going much further at all in this, because I'm not been racing cross keys particularly for very long.
Well, congratulations. I mean, that was really awesome. CPB, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm taking your spot. If you have, by all means.
Oh, no, that's all right. I was just going to mention that the seed was really interesting in that both of you felt bad about not getting the hammer earlier, but then you both kind of converged on Ice Palace for that initial dip at just about the same time. I mean, you were about 30 seconds apart getting the hammer, it felt like. So both of you sort of got funneled in that same direction.
Yeah, that's funny. Like the first hour of the seed, it was just so much like trailing around kind of awkward places. And like Sanka, the pyramid is interesting because you have like, especially with early Pearl, like there were some Dark World options. I realized at some point I could have like done a fake flipper over like with the bow and bombs and used the hook shot to get over to the main bit of Dark World earlier. And I was thinking like, well, I feel like I'm just looking for a connector to the main part of Dark World for a really long time. And then eventually I did find a connector over there anyway, and like I kind of did Skull, like the back of Skull. I found it, but I didn't have a small key. And then so I just went to like the main bit of Skull Woods and came back, killed Mothula, and got the Eastern big key for Eastern, which I'd found like first trip in. I was thinking, okay, like now I'm getting some like momentum era conclusion stuff, and then Eastern just had nothing. So and then I was like really starting to think, what do I have here? And I was like, I'm gonna have to just go for ice. Like I'd already died Mire as well, like early, and died in there, and it got me the flute, I guess, and the ice big key. But I was like, diving another dungeon that I'm not going to be able to finish just didn't feel that appealing. But it was the play apparently. So yeah, I don't know. I could have easily seen someone going in there a lot earlier. So I was kind of worried from that point on. But yeah, no, it's funny that we both ended up doing that at the same time.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Again, congratulations to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much. And thank you for running the tournament and restreaming and tracking and commentary. It's I'm just having a really good time with it so far.
Cool. I want to give another big shout out to Wally and to Cool Papa Bell and to Star and to iBot, to our 4 volunteers for tonight, and to myself, of course, because look at me.
Say, like, if you're not going to shout out yourself, I'm going to.
No, but that's not. I'm not running the show. You are. So thank you so much, Hulks, for being here with me. Shoutouts to Brief, learned, and to dataplet as well. Good luck to you in winner's bracket and to Data in loser's bracket. We're gonna be back later on the main channel, I believe, in an hour. I guess. Let me say for sure. In an hour and 30 minutes. With Allison versus Zelda Edison on ZSR1. More cross keys then. Thank you all for watching. Take care.